we've established the back perimeter. Notice how it doesn't have a real blunt feel to it. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take down the next layer. From this point, you should be able to see your line that you've created down below. If you can't, take less hair. Again, remember to check for symmetry. And make sure you're not getting too far ahead of yourself. And also make sure you're pulling from the same spots on both sides of the wig when you are checking that symmetry. Good idea to use water while you're cutting your wigs. The more it kind of pumps together, the more control that you'll have. Make sure you're checking for symmetry around the face, because that's where it's really going to show. Okay, and we are to the top, and our last line. I'm going to drop the whole thing over the top. And since this one already started out with quite a few layers, there's not really a whole lot left to do. And at this point, since there's so few hairs that are left hanging, I'm actually just going to go straight into my shears. These are about a $20 shear. They're not fancy brands. So I'm just going to take that. I'm just going to go like that. We're not going to try to make it a straight line. We're just going to take off and knock down those ends that are irregular and uneven. Sometimes if they're in the lower levels, they'll be easier to just comb down and then clip them along the base, like I'm doing now. If they're in the upper levels, sometimes it's easier to pick them up. Look at this one, you can see it. The reason why it doesn't matter whether it's a synthetic or a human hair and they'll both dull down your razor is that most human hair that's made that wigs are made from, it actually has so much laminate and silicone coating on it already that it's probably not that much different from a synthetic, realistically. Unless you've had something custom done or a really high-end piece, it's probably a lower quality human hair to begin with. Most of the wigs are, because they're not getting washed as much and they're not getting used, so there's no real reason to put as much into a human hair wig. Okay. Last step is just to sit her back up, check her in the front for symmetry, and you look pretty good. So that is how you would take off the length on wigs. Another wig basic is to change the length on the bangs. As you can see, this would be very unreasonable to wear. It would be constantly in your face and just generally giving you a bad day. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off these bangs and we're going to make them into a shorter, more dominant fringe style than just kind of this mess we have going on here. Now it's really important when you're cutting bangs to make sure, just like when you're cutting any wig application, you really need to make sure that the wig is actually on straight. Sometimes these parts aren't center parts, but you'll think that they are, and then by the time that you cut them, then you're all over the place and not where you want it to be. So you need to find the ear tabs. These are the pieces that come down kind of over the sideburn areas, and you're going to make sure that those are exactly even and pulled to the front. The next thing you're going to do is just take a couple of T-pins and pop them into your head. There's a rubber head, so they grip in there really nice. I'm going to lower her down a little bit. Okay, so first we have to decide where her bangs actually are and pull that out forward. This is a good time to use that steamer trick to change the direction of the bangs, and then you can cut them into the shape that you want if you need more or less in your fringe area. We're just going to go with what this one already has pre-cut, so you don't need to change the direction. We're just going to change the length. For this, you're going to need your basic wig cutting shears that are designated for your wigs, and you're also going to need some thinning shears. Okay. First thing that you're going to do is wet it down so you get more control. You're going to comb it into place. Now, bearing in mind that these are also going to, shrink up a bit, you want to leave just enough so that we know when we curl them or do anything to them that they're not going to be so high that we didn't expect it. The other thing too is if you are cutting this for yourself or for another person, instead of taking it and cutting it right on the mannequin head at first, put the wig on, center it, and then give yourself a center clip where you want that spot to be, so that you'll know where it sits on you, because it might look different on a mannequin head than it will actually on your face, and you don't want to go too high or too low without transferring it. The other thing too is if you're going to do that, if you're going to do a curve or you want the bangs to be straight, go ahead and give yourself a center and the two sides, then pop it off your head and put it on your mannequin so you can see how that line fits. Again, center the ear tabs and then you're ready to go. Okay, for her, we're just going to pull all her bangs straight down. It's got a good direction to them already, so no need to change any of that. Just going to pull them down, and we're going to go with bangs that are slightly above the eyebrows. And I'm going to put in a pretty sharp, heavy line. Pick up some of the piece that you just cut in your second piece so that you can see where you're going.